distinguished representative of Solomon Islands to take the floor.
Mr. President, at the outset, my delegation acknowledges the presence of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Cuba, Mr. Bruno Rodriguez Parilla, and thank the Secretary General for the report on Cuba, highlighting the impacts of the embargo on Cuba. My delegation aligns itself with the statement made by the distinguished delegate of Uganda on behalf of the Group of 77 in China. Mr. President, Solomon Islands voted in favor of the resolution as a reaffirmation of our support for Cuba and the cessation of the economic, commercial, and financial embargo on Cuba. The embargo on Cuba is not in the spirit of the United Nations and goes against the principles of the United Nations Charter. As member states, we are duty-bound to uphold the commitment to the purposes, principles, and the spirit of the Charter of the United Nations, particularly regarding the sovereign equality of states, non-intervention, non-interference in states' internal affairs, and freedom of international trade and navigation. Mr. President, the unilateral embargo on Cuba over 6 decades denies Cubans the right to trade, access to goods, critical and medical supplies, and violates Cuba's inalienable right to development. Nor does it reflect our unified aspirations to achieve the 2030 Agenda or the Sustainable Development Goals, which we collectively pledge not to leave anyone behind. Mr. President, Solomon Islands does not support the imposition of unilateral action or measures that perpetuate negative impact on the well-being of the people of another state. We therefore join the UN community in calling for the immediate removal of the embargo to restore faith in observing international law and the respect for United Nations principles. With the near unanimous support for the General Assembly on the resolution, by the General Assembly on the resolution again today, we encourage the United States to reconsider its decision on the embargo in the spirit of goodwill and engage in enhanced dialogue and constructive consultation with Cuba. Mr. President, Solomon Islands acknowledges with sincere appreciation Cuba's partnership and commitment to South-South cooperation and its contributions to the international community despite these imposed measures. As a close bilateral partner, Cuba has trained more than 100 of our medical doctors that are now saving lives around the country. We remain resolved in our stand with Cuba as we have done in the past and to the ending of the economic, commercial, and financial embargo on Cuba. I thank you, Mr. President.
I should like to thank the distinguished representative of the Solomon Islands, and I now invite the distinguished representative